Last year, when we did our first deployment, the employees of one of our customers were marking HappyRobot as a threat.
This is Pablo Palafox,
co-founder and CEO of HappyRobot,
the company building AI workers for the logistics industry. In just 1 year, Pablo took the company from $0 to $2.2 million in ARR.
and recently raised a $15.6 million Series A.
Led by Andreessen Horowitz to redefine how physical operations work.
You see how the industry operates today. You were mentioning before. It still runs on spreadsheets, emails, SMSs.
They just had failed because the technology was not there 5 years ago to 4 years ago.
So I'm curious, what are you seeing on the ground? What's your perspective on that?
Had it not been for us realizing early that going on site with a customer and being really hands-on with them early on, we probably would have been in that bucket of the 95%.
Was it obvious from the get-go that you guys had to adopt the forward deploy engineering motion?
So I was the first Ph.D. Luis, our CTO and co-founder, he was building the product. Javi was doing ops and sales. I was almost like a sales engineer and a post-sales engineer.
What were your most important lessons from you yourself going to the customers and wearing all those hats to make sure the product actually works for the customer?
That's the biggest learning. They're just looking for an AI partner. They want to have someone that has their back and that is willing to go the extra mile to figure out that deployment.
So you think that the FDE model is more like a temporary wedge?
I think the model remains the same. At the enterprise level, customers want to talk to someone. What will change is the work they do. Today, they're building workflows. Next, they'll think creatively around how to improve margins on a load.
Before diving into the more nerdy stuff, logistics, AI, let's talk a bit about the past. You grew up in Spain, right? Long before Silicon Valley, startups, Y Combinator, this place where we are in the world, which is very unique or magical. How was growing up in Spain?
Growing up in Spain is interesting. You are growing up in a very peaceful, if you will, in a very peaceful environment.
Not compared to
things move slow from a technology perspective, if you will. It was great growing up in a small city, that's for sure. I've lived in multiple cities now. I was in Munich for a while before coming to San Francisco. Things for me were very normal. Same to my co-founder and brother Javi, same with my other co-founder Luis. You just grow up in a normal city, going to school, you work hard, play soccer during afternoons or football. No, I went to the conservatory to learn how to play piano. That was interesting. I think that.
How would you say that shaped you?
That's actually a good point. If we talk about perseverance and commitment to something, right? That's something that definitely shaped the way I commit to things. I started when I was 6, probably. I started piano when I was 6-ish. Music, maybe even before, like just learning about music, like maybe like at 5 or so. Like that's typical when you start like getting introduced to music, at least there in Spain, right? And I went through high school being a bit of that extremely productive person and young person, if you will, which is interesting. Like I was always under some form of project, mostly because my mom thought that was gonna probably help me out in my future career. But I was like doing football, no soccer, playing tennis, playing volleyball. Then in parallel, like the conservatory.
You were that kid.
Yeah, looking back,
was doing everything.
Dude, you're making me think now about my past, and it's true. Yeah, there's a lot. Pushing forward on that really made me realize the importance of committing to something and getting it done. I was gonna like become a professional piano player. I could have. That's what my piano teacher wanted me to do. But I ended up going to study industrial engineering.
Why didn't you go that way?
As much as my mom wanted me to learn piano, she also wanted me not to study piano forever. If I were to have kids, I would probably have them go through the same funnel of learning. It's a great learning experience. I actually met really good friends who I am in touch with to this date, and they're really strong friendships because you go through a lot of pain, if you will. Because not only do you have to study for high school.
The Whiplash song.
Yeah, the movie. You also have to grind until 9 p.m. Like literally, I would spend my whole afternoon just like playing sports and then going to the conservatory and just like learning music. And literally in Spain, we actually have this weird dynamic of having dinner really late. Probably, if anyone has gone to Mallorca or Ibiza or Madrid or Barcelona, you've probably seen folks having dinner at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. at least. I was one of those families.
Yeah.
And then
which is very unusual for the States.
Very unusual. And 9:30, I remember myself like wrapping up a music class, a piano class or whatever. Yeah.
That's so fun. You mentioned your brother, who obviously was there with you the whole time. He's now your co-founder and COO. how were you two as kids? And I guess, how has your relationship evolved now that you are co-founders? And the fun fact is that you're actually the younger brother and you're the CEO.
Yeah. So a bit of a teaser, just also for the audience to know, like we're building AI agents for logistics and supply chain. Basically, we're building the AI operating system for an entire industry which runs on paper, emails, and phone calls. We're automating that with AI agents. It's a bit of a teaser because my brother Javi is connected to one of that industry, really, to supply chain, and I'm connected to the technical side of it together with one of my co-founders, Luis. The way Javi phrased, or how to put it, the way Javi really prepared the way for us was by training me to play sports, to learn computer science, and really to just become a better person. I can vividly remember he was putting me in front of a wall outside of our place. He gave me a ball and he would just like throw it to my head, and he would like have me hit the ball with my head, learn how to like in Spanish, do toques, like kick it with your head, just learn how to like keep it there on the wall. But yeah, like how he shaped me was by coaching me on sports, on technology. Fun fact, I'm a big Age of Empires player, and he actually introduced me to that. So he's always been like showing me the path forward, to the point that when I was doing my college years and I was going to go into the energy sector, if you will, because you're actually gonna study computer science. That's the bet. Like, okay, well, I guess I'll try that. So, yeah.
That's so funny. And I'm curious because I would assume this is similar in Spain, because in Latin cultures, we say, don't mix family with business. Never do that. And I'm sure if Latin America is like that, employed in Spain, things tend to be similar culturally. I guess what has turned out to be an advantage of partnering with your family, and what has been, I guess, a bit more tough?
I remember my uncle telling me that, ooh, you're going to get in trouble there, going to business with your best friend and your brother. Fun fact, today in the company, we have more than that. We actually have wives and girlfriends in the company. So it's even getting better. That's too funny. But I would say, especially at the very beginning, it helps us stick together. Luis is also a brother to me. Luis is our other co-founder. It's Javi, Luis, and I. Luis I met the second day of college in Madrid, studying robotics and electronics in Madrid in Polytechnica. But the reality is that we stuck together for all the startup journey since we started back in September 2022, when we started just like building stuff. And that's been magical, like being able to lean on friends and family has been really helpful, because we went through like some dark days. After YC, for the audience, we got into YC summer 23 after actually applying 2 times. It was our second application that we got in with. The first time we got rejected at the interview. Painful experience as hell. Like, it's probably best to get rejected before that. But the second time we applied, we got in. By the way, we threw away everything we were doing before. We threw away completely. I was doing my Ph.D. in computer vision. We thought that was like our wedge and our edge. We applied with a computer vision idea, trying to kill scale AI. Looking back, it might have been a good idea. But then, we went through Combinator summer 23 batch, and we ended up pivoting on demo day. And right after that, we went through a bit of a period of pivot hell. For a few months. So that, being really good friends with Luis, and obviously being a brothers, siblings with Javi, and themselves, like, they were also really good friends. That triangle of love kept us together for sure. If we had only been together for like a few months, which is the reality of some founders, they just do a bit of founder research and founder meetups. They just get to work with whomever they can. That can definitely work out, but knowing someone for forever just helps tremendously. Knowing that you're there for thick and thin.
Yeah. And you guys moved to San Francisco a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Which is like super, it hasn't been a long time.
Yeah.
Despite you guys killing it at HappyRobot. So it would have seemed like you guys are local. I'm curious how you've come, the three of you come from Europe. I mean, I guess your brother was in Spain, I would assume. You were in Germany.
Yeah.
So I guess, how has that transition been for you guys, like moving from Europe to the US? Was it just straightforward? Was it hard? It's always very different cultures, not only at a business level, but also personal, like family, etc.
Yeah. Javi was here actually before coming to San Francisco. He was already in Dallas. So Javi studies economics and law, and or finance and law, and he basically does some grant at the Spanish embassy in Mexico. So he's there for a few years. I was actually in Mexico last week, beautiful city. And he ends up in Dallas a few years ago. He was actually in Dallas for 5 years or 6 years. He was, again, pushing me towards, hey, eventually you probably want to come to the US. And this was like maybe 2018 when I was, like 2019 when I started my PhD. Like, hey, like start looking into internships. Like at that time, like we're not thinking about startup as well. I was doing my PhD. I went to Munich to study my master's with Luis, actually, from 2017 to 2019, and then I stayed for the PhD, blah, blah, blah. So at that time, it was like Javi doing his thing in the US. He was the CFO of the largest olive oil distributor, hence the connection to logistics, bit of a teaser as well for folks there. And the reality is that I always wanted to explore the US market, really, but from a perspective of me working at a company in the US. I always thought I was going to end up at Meta or Google or whatever, like working as a researcher. All my buddies from the PhD in Munich, they were getting like crazy salaries, which I guess now they're like 10x what they were getting now.
Now we're more crazy.
Probably, I guess we can talk about it. Like they were probably getting offers.
Like not even Real Madrid pays those salaries.
Back then in 2019, I remember some PhD friends who were wrapping up theirs, like 400K, 500K, like easy.
That was a lot, yeah.
Like their first job, like maybe in Zurich or something else, something like that. Now I guess they're getting like millions,
no, it's
right?
peanuts.
But yeah, it was always that drive to explore the US. And then when we got the opportunity to come here with YC, we were going to come to the US anyways, to be honest. We were going to come here no matter what after we started the company, because we always knew that was the place to build. Like we literally incorporated as a Delaware C Corp, the first.
From scratch?
From scratch. We didn't do like anything in Europe. I would love to be able to build in Europe. The reality is that it's easier to move faster here. We can talk about that later. I don't know how it's in other parts of the world, but clearly here you have an edge against everyone else.
I've had my own experience investing in a Spanish company, and it's tough. As a US investor, we had to make all this paperwork, go to the Spanish embassy here, register as a foreigner investor. And it was like, hey guys, it felt like, guys, you're making it harder for a foreign investor to invest in your country.
Put money in your country.
Why would you do that?
Let me put money in that.
Exactly, it sounds so. But the company was big enough to
matter. Yeah.
But what about San Francisco? Moving to the city. And I ask it because I feel like it's a very particular city.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's people that shy and there's people that have a tougher time getting used to it.
We got used to it really quickly. I was very disappointed with the weather, I have to say.
Sometimes I think, guys, instead of inventing LLMs, why don't we just spend some time figuring out how can we change the weather?
How can we make the same setup like in every city? Just put a cloud on top of a city and you'll get it.
And that's we will need to actually take out the clouds.
But that's the thing, right? I think with the cloud on top of us, like the weather is just a perfect temperature to work hard. But no, like jokes aside, the atmosphere was great. We coming into the city and going into White City the next day, meeting some of our like iconic founder role models like Michael Seibel from all the videos and all these guys. It's amazing, no? Like just getting exposure to that and then realizing that you're actually part of it and that you can actually contribute to that. That was fascinating. First it's surreal, then you just obviously just get to work on it the next day and you forget about everything else. No parties, no nothing. It's just like hard work. If people ever think that we're just having fun here, it's like the startup, like kumbaya is like, I would see more of that in Europe, actually. When I was in Munich, not to like really appreciate it of the ecosystem there. But when we were like doing some ideas back there in Munich initially, there's great support for founders that want to work hard. But the atmosphere that other founders create is just not that great. Meaning,
doesn't contribute.
If you see founders of other companies in your startup like office or whatever, in whatever hub accelerator you're in, leaving at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I guess this is just like a normal job to them.
Yeah.
Which is not the case. Like it cannot be the case if you really want to get.
You really want to build a big company. Right?
I mean, there's a lot of like 996 and like hard work and things going. I mean, of course. Like I think like these past few years of like Google and Meta and all these like making things look too easy.
Yep.
In the sense of like there's just like benefits all over. Like things are like money's just coming over to us. Someone has to actually do the work.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful experience. I'll have to say though.
Speaking of doing the work, let's talk about logistics, which is obviously an industry that does a lot of work. And I think the funny thing about logistics is that historically it's been a relatively unfertile territory to build
Sure.
startups, right? Like you see how the industry operates today. You were mentioning before, it still runs on spreadsheets,
Yeah.
emails, SMSs, WhatsApp sometimes as
Yeah.
well. So you would say, okay, this is clear. Technology is not new, right? So people have tried to build software for this industry before, and for a combination of factors, they have failed, right? Obviously, there's exceptions. There's
Sure.
a few companies that have done it well, Samsara, but there's not like 10 or 20 companies that you could name and say, okay, those are logistics unicorns or successful cases, despite this being a huge industry, right?
Yeah.
And it touches everything around us, right? Like literally every object in this place, in this apartment, came thanks to logistics and
100%.
supply chain. So I'm curious, what has been your experience? What did you first see in the ground when you were going out pitching HappyRobot in its earliest days, in its infancy? How were people reacting to AI? And how were they thinking about the adoption of this technology?
I'll start by saying, or by giving credit to the people that work in logistics, supply chain, trucking, ocean carriers. Like, wow, like it's an incredibly complex operation that they're running. It's repetitive and looks mundane, but is incredibly important.
Yep.
So on top of being really complex,
We take it for granted.
we take it for granted. And as much as we've tried, or the community as a whole, the world as a whole has tried to streamline those processes, it was really hard to streamline those processes without LLMs. And as much as some of those have been automated with better technology, like the move to the cloud, if you will, which has been progressive over the years, there's some customers still that we see that are like running things locally on like AS400 and on-prem, and now they're moving to these online and cloud TMSs or WMSs. TMS means Transportation Management System, Warehouse Management System. So huge kudos to the folks that are running that day to day. And it's true. To your point, is like startups and companies that have tried to automate that in the past have not had that much of a big success as maybe other technology companies automating other industries. LLMs are poised to change that. It's positioned to basically change how we operate supply chain and physical operations as a whole. You mentioned Samsara. We're very grateful to have partnered with Samsara actually, and they basically serve these physical operations market, if you will. They help supply chain, food and beverage, tracking obviously. They help field management or field services, if you will. So
I'm curious, how were your first conversations with potential customers, and how did they react to your value prop? And especially, how did they react in compared to the previous pitches, I guess the pre-LLM pitches that they would heard?
Exactly. So going back into where we started, which we were talking about December 23, we put together this voice agent, which looking back was a perfect wedge for us. We can talk about that. Today we're really serving the cross-channel experience, if you will, multi-channel experience for these folks. We're building that AI operating system for them to run on top of their existing database. We're providing that AI worker that thinks and reasons about what and when to do things, which is really powerful. It's enhancing their teams by 10, 20x, which is really fascinating. We can dive deeper into the technology later.
Yep.
But what we saw, to my point before, of they're running a very complex process, we need to understand what's going on. So what we did first, back in December 23, January 24, was, hey, I'm going to go on-prem to you guys. I'm going to see what you guys are running. I'm going to be working with you day in, day out. Our first customer we got through a random meetup, if you will. It was actually a Discord server.
Really?
Yeah. I met our first customer. It's the 40th largest freight broker in the US. It's one of our freight brokers are one of our main targets. Just for the audience, freight brokers are that intermediary that helps facilitate the movement of loads of shippers or companies trying to ship things. My brother, Javi, was a shipper. He was the CFO of a shipper. He was shipping olive oil around the world and throughout the US with the help of freight brokers, which are basically that intermediary who finds trucking companies, in this case, domestically. Freight brokers are typically domestic. So what we said is, okay, let's understand really how these freight brokers are operating. They have a lot of manual processes. They have a lot of phone calls. They have a lot of emails. Their teams are drowning in those, and they're screaming for help. I remember chatting with this customer. They had attempted some form of automation a few years ago, but they just had failed because the technology was not there. 5 years ago to 4 years ago, you would have to like fine tune small classifiers to do any basic customer support. And like obviously you cannot do that. Like you need to actually have a versatile way to create
wasn't
AI agents.
generalizable enough. In a sense?
Exactly, yeah. Even what we built in 2024 was not generalizable enough. Like what we did last year was understand a few workflows for these freight brokers really well. We can talk about the Ph.D. motion that now it's very top of mind for AI companies, AI agentic companies. Yep. And we went there, we understood the process, we built the first workflows. We actually had to fine-tune LLMs. We fine-tuned Mistral and Llama 2 to really cater to that specific use case and make it really low latency. We were building voice agents at the time only, and they had to be fast. Like you could not have 7 seconds of latency between. So we did that kind of crazy thing that maybe doesn't generalize too much, because if you fine-tune a use case for, or an LLM for a specific use case, then you cannot use that one for another use case, right? So there's a lot of unintuitive things that we had to do there just to cater to these pain point of these very mundane and repetitive tasks that these freight brokers were doing. So to your point of why logistics has not flourished before, I think it is not the right time. Now it's like the perfect time for probably many other industries that we're overlooking.
Ade, your investor from Baysten, said something very interesting about you, which is that despite being super technical and actually being a former PhD student, you actually don't care a lot about technology in the way you communicate. And it's funny that he mentioned that, because I think we live in a city where we tend to overcomplicate technology, right? In how we talk about it. We almost make it sound harder for people that are not
more
here.
fancy.
Exactly. Right? And especially people that come from logistics that probably don't care about the latest model.
True.
So I'm curious, what have you learned about communication? Think about sales, educating the customers in this type of traditional industries where the customer doesn't really care about the technology, but just cares about you solving
the outcome.
The
problem,
outcome, right?
Yeah, the problem, the outcome. Yeah. At this point is right. Like I had to refine to take away my
Was it that natural
PhD
to
hat.
you, or did you have to learn that?
I still go into the details quite often, just because I'm a technologist at heart. But I sure that I try to simplify. I am a very, I think of myself as humble in a way that I don't want to just show off.
Yeah.
But what I know or don't know, probably I don't know more things that I know. But on the specifics of AI, what a customer cares about is their outcomes, their problems, and they don't care about whether we have fine-tuned Mistral or Llama 2. They just don't care, which is fair. Like some of them might be more curious than others, but I did have to refine my pitch and my way of chatting with them to demystify it, really, because I also don't want to make it seem as this fancy thing that can do anything, but rather keep them grounded. Hey, this is like literally statistics. This is just like fine-tune. Like we have models here that
you mean being careful about the expectations that you create on
expectation
customers.
setting is so important. That's something we've realized.
That's
Under promise, over deliver. We still mess that up sometimes. Like customers are too excited, and sometimes we like don't stop them. And it's cool. Yeah, it is very cool. So like we overhype each other, but it's like many times you just have to set the expectations there, right? Like, it might make mistakes. Like LLMs are not perfect. It might just like maybe forget to transfer here and there at the right time, like escalate the call to someone. It might forget to do X and Y, but generally it's gonna be like way better than your team at doing that repetitive task, and then your team can actually help or tackle the edge cases, which is what AI is doing today. It's actually helping us with the repetitive 80-90% of the work. Yep. And humans are really good at edge cases and handling those situations.
Any tactical or specific advice on how to polish that communication for this type of customers?
I think showing them what's under the hood helped us a lot. So we, at HappyRobot, we have a workflow builder. We have the foundations, kind of see the world as we're providing the foundational core for building AI agents. And that means we have essentially a Zapier-looking app where you can
Like a
build
workflow builder.
Exactly, like a workflow, an agentic workflow builder, if you will. You can do a lot of fancy stuff for those engineers that are out there, by the way. Hiring, obviously, full stack, back and infra. But for those engineers out there, we can do things like receive a phone call, put that someone on hold, trigger 5 different workflows in parallel to trigger 5 different phone calls, like all sorts of fancy stuff. So that's our foundation. That's where we build the agents. And then we have vertical specific products for freight brokerage, for 3PLs now, for ocean carriers, for utility companies. We're having different verticals now, and we're productizing those deliveries. What we did really well, I think, initially was show the magic. Like, just open it up to the customer. Hey, this is what's going on. It's nothing more than a prompt. If you're building an email-based agent or a voice agent, selecting a voice, there's a transcriber. The transcriber is going to make issues, going to make mistakes. There's an LLM. There's an end-of-sentence detection, maybe to understand whether you're done talking or not. So, like, I'm showing you everything. So even if you're like a non-technical customer, you're not a developer per se, but I'm still showing you what's going on, and they'll understand. Like, they're incredibly smart, so they'll understand. So I think that helped. There's a practical way to engage with the customer at that level of, hey, you probably don't care, but I'm still going to tell you that this is what it is. It's no magic. You can actually prompt it yourself. You can see the mistakes it does if you don't prompt it the right way. And whoever lies or whoever tells you that AI is magic, they'll probably be lying, because this is what it is. It's completing words. It's predicting the next token, and they understand. So that helps us like set the expectations with them.
That's really interesting, because I feel like probably the most usual advice or most common advice is actually, just focus on the value for your customer. Don't forget about the technology. Don't describe the technology.
For sure. When we do that, but we also want to set expectations, right? So to the point of aligning with the customer, hey, this is what's happening. Sure, you don't care about it. You care about booking the load. You care about making that delivery. You care about serving the customer. We're going to focus on that. But still, this is what's going on.
Yes. And I think this expectation management piece might be something more unique to AI applications.
Yeah.
Because customers, based on everything they might hear out on the press or podcast or whatever, they might come 100%. With the huge expectation of, oh my God, these agents are going to change my life. And then obviously, if you don't deliver that, which is most likely you won't, then they'll be, oh, come on, this is just, I don't know, this is a fad, right? And the funny thing is, I was literally talking during the weekend to a friend of mine. He works at one of the big AI SDR players that have raised a ton of money in the Valley. Won't name names. But he was telling me, he was criticizing one of their competitors, saying, these guys are growing fast because they're just basically selling things they cannot. We're on the other side, we're trying to downplay expectations because we want churn afterwards. So I feel like there's this also very interesting trade-off right, between how much you want to sell or not.
You do want to sell the vision for sure. You do want to sell like how things will look like for your business, but you also want to help them navigate and walk through that process with them of, hey, we're going to start doing this. Might sound stupid, but we're going to do baby steps to get there. And eventually it'll be like magic. It'll replace your workforce and help them like do something higher value. But it's not going to be, it's going to be mistakes like that. I think that's the primary goal, like helping them understand it's not perfect, but it's really good. Which is like transformational. Like, I mean, we've seen customers save millions of dollars by moving teams around from repetitive and mundane tasks that they didn't want to do to like selling more or like being more productive for the company. Like humans are good at problem solving. We're not good at typing, looking at it. Like whatever, I always say this, whatever a human is an interface to data, and it's relaying information back from one place to the other, writing it back into a spreadsheet, into a document entry place, whatever, like a TMS or whatever. That's a great place where an AI could help.
This is a great setup to go into what you mentioned before, which is the forward deploy engineering motion, which is something a lot of people are talking right now in the Valley. And I want to tee this up by referencing this MIT report, which I'm sure you read, that came out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was last week or a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And everyone was sharing them on Twitter and busy Twitter. And basically, for people that might have not seen it, this MIT report, like the headline is 95% of AI applications in the enterprise are failing.
Yeah.
Right? But I think the report says it's not because of the technology or the models, it's because of integration, implementation, and all the friction that implies. So I'm curious, what are you seeing on the ground? What's your perspective on that?
I can totally see how that is the case. Had it not been for us realizing early that going on site with a customer and being really hands-on with them early on, we probably would have been in that bucket of the 95% that kind of failed with integrations. And let's be honest, like we still mess up some integrations because of the complexity of navigating an organization. There's a lot of change management involved. There's obviously technical barriers. Yeah. Telephony is one, for example, for the voice agent piece that we deploy in customers. There's always like the fear of, oh, this is going to connect to my telephony, so I'm scared that you're going to mess up my call center.
Yeah.
And that there's that, no? And the IT department, as much as I love the IT departments of our customers, but they're to protect themselves from random startups messing up their system, which I fully get. So I can totally see how the FD motion for us has helped be mostly always on that 5%. And if we've not been there from the get-go, we've always made sure that we've like fixed things by, again, going to the customer, understanding who the players are involved in from the company side, from the customer side, and then working with them. Really, you just want to work with them and understand what's going on. The integration piece is key. Yeah, like many of our customers have their own technology. They built their own databases and TMSs and WMSs and ERPs. So they're going to have specific APIs for their own system. So we want to like be flexible enough for our AI agents to connect to them. To your point before of it's not the problem of the technology, but rather of the integration and change management. That is true. Like we can spin up an AI agent for automating 10,000 or thousands of calls for customer support for these brokers or carriers or freight forwarders in literally just 30 seconds because we've built templates for different use cases across verticals. A company like C.H. Robinson, which is the largest freight broker, comes to us and we're able to just click a button and deploy an AI agent for them to see the magic. Now, where's the data coming from? That's the missing piece. That's where like an FDE is going to be extremely helpful. They're going to understand where that data is coming from. They're going to make sure that data is coming clean. They're going to help with change management. We actually now have a separation between the forward deployed engineer and the deployment strategist, which is another figure that Palantir introduced as well. No? Internally in Palantir, they call them ECHOs. The ECHO is the deployment strategist, and the Delta is the forward deployed engineer. So that tuple is really what drives a lot of those deployments in a Palantir. We've taken those names and just made it our own thing. We're probably not like doing exactly what a Palantir will be doing, but it's fine. It's just like a way to name things. So the deployment strategist is basically taking care of the change management now and the commercial aspect of things. They're almost like a customer success manager or like an account director. And the FDE is
but
really
more technical, I guess.
But more technical. Yeah. Profiles here are folks that are coming from consulting, but also have a technical appetite. So they're good with change management, navigating complex enterprises, which is our focus, and the commercial aspect of it. They have a commercial mind or mindset. And then the FDE can now focus more on the deployment, on the technical aspect of it, and also putting their product hat, which is really interesting. In Palantir, we can talk about that as well. Initially, similar to Salesforce as well, they had 80% services and 20% product. If you look at it now, they're the opposite.
But they started
20% services and 80% product.
But they started 20% product.
Yeah.
Just similar to free AI.
Yeah, exactly. Salesforce, I read these blog posts, they started the same. Like they just had to implement the thing. And to some degree, we are all there. We talk about AI agent companies, we're all in that bucket. But now we're productizing a lot. And FDEs in our team, they're the link between the product team, the engineering team, and the customer success team, and they're putting multiple hats on. They're putting the sales hat on, the pre-sales, the post-sales, they're putting the product hat on. So they're really that link between, that unifies everyone. It's really key.
I'm curious, if you guys had an implementation that went like the 95% of the MIT report, and what did you learn from that experience? Or was it obvious from the get-go, okay, we have to go FD motion?
So we've had some failures, specifically on the mid-market of some of these verticals, particularly freight brokerage. Again, our product is a very technical product, and we've actually built a lot of things in-house. Like we decided early on to build a lot of those pieces in-house. We've built our own voice infrastructure. We're actually piloting with a lot of our own transcribers and like end of sentence detectors, and we have our own text to speech. We also work with great partners like 11 Labs and Cartesia, of course. But we've built our own infrastructure there. So we were really good from that technical perspective. And initially, maybe we were not that good at that customer success motion. So specifically with the smaller customers that actually didn't put someone from their side to PM on their side, we probably were not following up enough. Things fell through the cracks. We forgot about them, maybe because they were like a little bit smaller.
Okay.
And we were like focusing on maybe bigger accounts that were like more pushy.
Yeah.
Because the minute someone on the other side doesn't have a lead, and us as a younger company initially last year, I'm thinking about, you're just a bunch of guys and girls just like sitting around, not have a lot of free time to say, oh, I forgot about customer X. We grew pretty fast. We've more than 10x revenue, pretty much 20x revenue since our Series A. And number of customers just grow. It's not that we have thousands, we have over 100 customers today. But still, you can like very easily forget about, oh, that implementation for that one use case, I forgot about it. And you might have like multiple agents that you're deploying at once. So there's a few of those like mid-market customers that initially we messed up the implementation with, and you just have to apologize and own your mistake. Maybe it's not the right customer to serve. Then you need to be transparent and tell them, hey, if you want to work with us, we need someone from your team, and this might be helpful feedback for other companies out there. Try to have someone from the customer own their relationship. If there's no one that actually owns their relationship with us, there's no accountability from their side either. And sometimes you might, or I was talking with the head of customer success at a very big company, and she was saying, sometimes you have to be the adult in the room with the customer, and you have to just be that for the customer. They want to be shepherded. Actually, customers have told us, we would love more shepherding from you. Which is really interesting.
I feel like in the end, this is new for them as well. So
Very
they don't
new.
necessarily have the answer. But just
They have bots talking on the phone that sound like humans. Like that's really very new to them.
Exactly.
Very new to them.
Just, I guess, going back to my question, was it obvious from the get-go that you guys had to adopt the forward deploy engineering motion?
No.
Or how did you land it into betting? Because it sounds like you guys have betted big on that motion, and it's delivered for you guys. But I'm curious, in those early days, how did you get to that conclusion?
So I was the first FD. Luis, our CTO and co-founder, he was building the product, and Javi was basically doing ops and sales. I was probably like doing the I was almost like a sales engineer and a post-sales engineer. So I was taking care of the demos and of anything implementation and making sure that things were working well. So I was that figure, and I didn't know I was an FD, or you could have called me anything. I was solutioning. You can also, FDs are like solutions engineers, but they're very...
In regular SaaS, people talk about founder-led sales, right? It's like forward-deployed, founder-led, forward-deployed engineering. Right?
And it's literally that. Some folks that we probably have in common, Factorial, this Spanish unicorn, Jordi and Bernat, in their podcast, they were... Sometimes I think they joked about the FD role in one of their podcasts, and I can understand why they would do that. It's basically, this is just like an engineer that goes to a customer and does the deployment, which is it's a customer engineer. It's
you have to make it sound cooler so you can attract talent to it.
That's for sure. That's one thing. But it's true that it also, you don't want to attract the wrong talent.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
We're seeing that with the role of CSM, with the role of a customer success manager. And maybe this is TMI, but like when we posted that role, we had a lot of candidates that were coming from the traditional space of CSMs, and they
didn't feel you guys were
lacked the grit to like build. Like they needed to be technical, but also like very hungry and very
hands-on,
passionate and hands-on and autonomous, really. And that's something that if you just search for like a CSM, you'll just get people that have
Which might
CSM work.
work for a more traditional SaaS product,
100%,
right?
100%. For these very early type of products where you are literally building work, you're automating work, you're building software that automates
Labor.
and the insights that come with that labor, which is actually really interesting. We say that we're not only automating work, we're getting all of the insights that humans are not good at extracting from their labor.
The intelligence,
The
right?
intelligence layer, yeah. It's really key for us. So those two components. But traditional CSM or a traditional solutions engineer might expect something that they've already seen. They bring those preconceived frameworks, and we don't want that. We want folks that are like very open-minded, very curious, high horsepower, high grid, and they're just excited to build things and call it whatever.
Yep.
Actually, folks and friends from 11 Labs just took away roles. I like that. It's just like, hey, you work on engineering and you work on customer engineering or customer success. Who cares
Doesn't
whether
matter.
you're like an FD, like a
Yep.
deployment strategist, or like whatever.
I guess just to wrap up that idea, how were those early implementations for you? What were your most important lessons from you yourself going to the customers and basically, as you were saying, wearing all those hats to make sure the product actually worked for the customer?
I was literally having daily stand-ups with customers. Every deployment I would do, I was just like very hands-on. Would be checking like the logs of the deployment, like making sure that no phone call would go messed up. And they appreciate that. Someone told me recently, actually one of our advisors, Ian Russell, I'll shout out. He was very early at Loom on the CS function. He basically told me customers appreciate more the fact that you help them fix something broken than if things are just like working perfectly and it's stale. You know, like things are just working fine, but like no one cares. Like nothing breaks, but also nothing gets fixed. Customers really appreciate when something gets fixed quick. So that's something that early on we took almost as a value, as an operating principle really, which is extreme ownership. And we don't call it this way, but like almost that form of customer obsession, right? You just want to make sure that, hey, if you've committed to serving this customer, is it really working for them?
Yeah.
And are you on top of every freaking like Slack or Teams message that the customer is sending you? Because it's mission critical. Like one thing that we realized is that we're building mission critical software for them. It's not, a nice marketing tool to automate my outreach. Oh, if it breaks, I'll just wait for the next day to do my outbound or whatever. It is important. We actually do a lot of marketing or outbound sales use cases with our customers. But if it's actually running an inbound flow of emails or phone calls or text,
It's our core business.
it's the customer-facing experience for their own customers. So it was really mission critical. So being on top of their deployment helped tremendously. And then they're just looking for an AI partner. That's the biggest learning. They're just looking for an AI partner. They want to have someone that has their back and that is willing to go the extra mile to figure out that use case, to figure out that deployment. I think you brought this up before. Like, there's no like consolidated set of products today to build AI agents. We're all figuring out exactly what that looks like.
I heard you had to spend a night at a customer. Was it true? Like at your office?
I've done multiple crazy things with customers.
What's the craziest thing you've done?
So I remember this one was more of a night on a plane to go to a customer. So we've taken a few red eyes to visit some customers. But I hopped on a plane with one of our FDs, Tahir, one of the FDs in our team. We're 60 now, 65 in the company. And a lot of the team is FDs, actually. Maybe 20 folks. It's a very big team. We have a lot of enterprise customers that require that level of hands-on. But I remember hopping on a plane from one day to the other with Tahir to go to a customer in Atlanta. And you just hop on it, just go there, fix the problem, make them happy, move on. To my point before, they trust you more now. Sure, something maybe like broke or whatever. I don't even remember what happened. But they see you as you having their back. So that's really important. And ultimately, they also obviously want a great product. One thing that probably as feedbacks to the audience, if someone is building AI agents, like you want to be more transparent in terms of what you're building. Like we've built a lot of cool things that we haven't like marketized properly. Yep. So that's a bit of a learning arena for us there. Like we have to get better at that. But like many customers have appreciated the fact that we're like being more active on communicating new products that we build. Like engineering moves really fast. but the rest of the company might not catch up to that sometimes. They're just like focused on the deployment of the existing stuff. So it's a bit of a balance there. I don't even know why I ended up on this topic, but I guess important to note that customers do want to know your roadmap, especially if we're talking about you being an AI partner to them. They obviously want to know what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's interesting. What have you found to be the biggest roadblocks to the implementations?
Right now, we're actually finding a lot. This might be like a little bit of a temporary roadblock. Actually, we're now like solving it pretty nicely, but all the telephony integrations are pretty stupid in the sense that some of the telephony players are like playing a little bit of a like bad cop, like not bad cop, but like they're playing their cards to like maybe
They're
push away.
helpful.
Yeah, they're pushing away some vendors, and I can see why that is the case. Like some of these call center softwares are acquiring other AI agent companies, and they want to push that thing that they bought. But ultimately, it's for the customer to decide. So if they want to use HappyRobot, they'll just want to use that. I guess the integration to their databases and systems is typically one that we navigate relatively easily because either they have access to it or they just go to their provider, their software provider. They just ask for that. Specifically in a messy industry like transportation, this is actually fascinating to me. Like they don't have APIs. Many times they don't even have an API.
Wow.
So then you need to figure out, okay, do I build a browsing agent on their own software, which is like stupid. You are literally building some form of browser agent, if you will, to get that data back. Thankfully, with the enterprises that we work with, they generally have figured out how to get access to their data. Customers really value having ownership of their own data, and the enterprise level even more. So those would be two blockers. And then there's a human aspect of it. Last year, when we did our first deployment, the employees of one of our customers were marking HappyRobot as a threat.
Wow.
So it was a threat to them. They do this yearly experiment of like asking employees like this quadrant. I always forget the name.
Like
of
employee sentiment, right?
Like this quadrant. What's the name of this thing? Opportunities.
It's the SWOT analysis.
The SWOT analysis. Yeah. So we were that threat to them.
Oh wow, that's super.
And the next year, we're like an opportunity. We're a strength, right? We're valuable to them. We're a 10X.
Such a cool example that in a strategic planning of a company, you go from threat to opportunity. I guess that reflects very well AI, right?
100%.
Where we are with AI.
100%. And reflects the fact that whoever acknowledges the importance of these early on, they're going to have an advantage versus who is now looking at it, right? Like customers that started with us last year, they're already saving like millions on wasted talent gone into very repetitive tasks, as we said before. In between that example that I shared, I'll share a funny story. One of the employees from this customer, they actually sent us a picture in Halloween of them dressing up as a little robot, like with a little robot face. We named their agent Kate, per the voice of one of our founding employees, Catherine. We used her voice. We cloned her voice. So that was Kate. And they dressed up as Kate. And they sent us this picture in Halloween. Look, guys, we dressed up as Kate. So that shows how much they value the partnership, really, with the bot, which is interesting, no? But they see it as a collaborative tool, as an employee, really.
That's fascinating. I wanted to touch briefly on the design partnerships, because I think your first customer came, right, as a design partner. And I say that in the context of, I think usually like startups are born in two ways, or I guess founders approach the ideation stage in two ways. One is they usually come with a strong point of view, industry or use case, or some others approach it more like an exploration, and they usually go and partner with a customer and say, hey, it's almost like a consulting service. Hey, let's work together and we'll find out what are the applications of X, Y, or Z technology for your company, and we'll find where can we find the most value, and then double down on that. And I feel with AI, I'm seeing more of the latter. Most founders approaching it in this exploration style and going with customers, working on trying out different implementations, see what sticks, and then doubling down on one, usually on a wedge. Say, okay, probably in this particular type of industry, here's in this area, is where we can derive the most value with the least amount of effort, right? So I'm curious, how was your experience running this first design partnership? What did you learn about what makes a successful design partner?
When we were negotiating the contract for our first big enterprise, it was the first time we met their CEO. We had been interacting with their second in command, really, their VP of brokerage, really. And there comes the CEO, CFO, and he's like, okay, so you're telling me that I have to pay you, it was like $1,000 a month. Like, it was in total $12K a year. You're telling me I have to pay you like $12K a year for you to try and build some thing that you say can automate these phone calls for selling our loads? Yes. Okay, so let's try. And
I'm paying for your experiment.
yeah, and it was a great validation, really, that they wanted to try that. This customer now has many times that, just not share exact numbers, but the value that we've generated for these type of customers has been tremendous. And it's true that early on, they went into a bit of I'll just trust you, and like I'll
leap of faith,
jump right into it, do that leap of faith, and see what comes out of it. I feel that many of us have done that in the past few months. It's just, hey, I know how to build stuff. If you open up your doors, I can figure it out and help you build the stuff that is right for you versus what I think is right for you. Because we made that mistake ourselves. Like early on when we were building the prior HappyRobot, we were building things in the dark in our cave. We would not come out until... I read
that story,
yeah. So it's great to be out there, understand the customer's pain point. And yeah, I think the design partnership today makes sense. I think it's been the same always. I guess it hasn't really changed too much. There's probably products out there that are coming from a founder mentality of, this is how I want things to look like in the world, and I'll just build it. I don't care who likes it or not. It's typically more of a B2C maybe, not necessarily. For example, I think Linear is pretty opinionated. In the way they build things. They probably listen to customers a lot, don't get me wrong.
It's a combination of both.
It's a bit of a combination.
But I think most cases are the latter.
I think so.
And I mean, AI, that's even more, makes more sense given that it's so nascent.
I think so.
Technology. Any learnings on how to structure those partnerships? I guess, what were the milestones you had to hit on to expand the contract? But also, most importantly, how did you guys think about where are we going to double down? How did you pick the wedge? Because in the end, it's like you're basically asking your customer to open up, right?
Yeah.
Like tomorrow, like the phrase, right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, go in and look whatever you can find. But then how did you say, okay, the more interesting area to double down right now is around here?
When you don't know anything about the vertical you're tackling, if you're tackling a vertical, which was our case with freight brokers initially, and now it's a case with other verticals we're tackling, you do want to do that. You do want to ask the customer, open up, and I'll figure it out. Let's maybe set a timeline for whatever POC. Ideally, it's a yearly contract, if you will. Ideally, they pay. By the way, we have not found a correlation between willingness to pay for a pilot and successful completion of that pilot into a contract.
So even if it's free, it can be successful? Or?
Sometimes if it's free, they move even faster. Like some of the 7 and...
Because usually people say, make customers pay for the pilot, right? So
we've
more
seen less not that much correlation about it, because they know they need it. If they actually need to waste a few months to go through procurement for the pilot,
you lose time.
They're like, I'll just find someone else. And like they know things are moving, and they know the things they need to get are out there.
Yep.
So putting a barrier to entry, it's actually not proving super interesting for us. But that's our learnings, if you will, on that. I will say though, we are learning that regardless of the amount of money they pay for a pilot or not, or if they go directly into contracts, we typically do either a pilot phase or like a 2 or 3 year contract, or even 1 year contract with a pilot phase embedded into it, almost like a cancel anytime during the first month or 2 months, just to give the customer peace of mind. We're really open with any framework they want to bring, because we're really confident into what we have.
Yep.
And the customer knows that, by the way. Like the customer can feel can smell that fear if you have any, or if not, just, okay, I guess I'll just go with these guys. They have figured it out. But one thing that is really helpful for us right now is having a start date of the pilot, obvious, having a completion date, having metrics for the pilot. So knowing exactly what you're looking for is helpful. Many times you cannot get that metric, which is hard. Like, how do you know coming into a new use case? They sometimes don't even know how well their humans are performing. We have some customers doing outbound sales to book loads. They don't know what is the completion rate of that. They don't even know how many calls they did. They just know that they got that booking, or they booked that load, or they got that sale, or whatever, but they don't know how many attempts the rep took to do that. So many times it's hard to know that. We are now finding really helpful is having that final completion date with a pilot review. It's pretty tactical advice, but this is working for us and we're implementing it now. That last day, or like that pilot completion review call, and like a bit of an interim, like mid-pilot review call. Nothing fancy, just like the typical like framework for SOW kind of framework. So we do have the customer sign an NDA and an SOW with a price on it or not, depending on how we test the waters there. So yeah, that's been helpful for us.
On the people side, what have you found around what's the profile that works best for this motion? I feel something that's funny about the forward deploy engineering model is that you almost see like this lineage of people, right? Like people from McKinsey went to Palantir, and then from Palantir to C3, and now OpenAI is pulling people from all those companies. Right? So it seems like there's been like I don't know if a profile or a playbook that people have learned.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how have you thought about the profile that works best? And also, how do you train them? Is there something in particular that you guys do that helps onboard people? Because in the end, it's a relatively new profession, however you want to call it, right? Regardless of the name. Right?
Yeah. So we found a lot of success in recent graduates, like CS graduates. Maybe if they've done a master's, maybe they've worked for a year or two at consulting, maybe at a technology company. Maybe they've done some form of solutioning in those companies. Like a few of our folks are coming from like technical consulting backgrounds, and so they've had some interaction with customers. The ones that just literally come out of college, obviously they've not had any interaction with customers, and they probably have to. We were teaching them a little bit on that. We're training them a little bit on that customer-facing delivery, if you will. But I think there's something that we look for in those folks, which is that gut feeling that you just know they're going to figure it out. They're going to have fun doing it. They're excited to be part of a fun adventure, and they're just nice people. We have one of our operating principles is being majo, which in Spanish means nice, like
cool,
wholesome, trustworthy, and hard work. Like, don't get me wrong, like we're
being enjoyable to work with.
Like the typical don't confuse. What is it? Don't confuse weakness with being nice. So they're super hardworking people, like high horsepower, if you will, like very, very hardworking and dedicated to the success of the customer. But yeah, they have that gut feeling that you get when you talk to them. So we're looking for that. We're looking for a little bit of that unicorn. They're willing to work really hard, but for the right thing, if you will, versus maybe pushing buttons in some UI in like a bigger company. This is literally something someone told me recently. I'd rather like change the way logistics and supply chain and physical operations is done and build the next evolution of work than just push a button to a UI on some platform that maybe no one will see.
Totally. Something that Ade told me that was super, I think, insightful was most people talk about how the AI opportunity is not in replacing software budgets, but replacing labor, right? Which US companies spend, I think, 10 times as much in labor or even more than in software, right? So if you're a startup that is successful at tapping into labor budgets, then you can build a huge, right, generational company. And what Ade told me was this interesting nuance that if customers are going to allocate labor budget, then they're going to expect labor response. So I guess, how do you see that? And how do you, I guess, in a sense, this comes back to one of our first to our initial conversations, which is how do you manage those expectations?
Labor responses in quality of the responses. And
Exactly.
like
But
human-
without becoming a services company, right? Because I feel like there's this tension in how you operate.
So labor response, as in the AI agent has to be perfect. Is that?
I think he was talking more about if you hire an employee, you expect like immediate response,
Gotcha.
right? Like
Gotcha.
they're like super on top, right?
Yes, that is the case, but I don't think that's the case because of what we're building, but rather because of the era of the world we live in, which is instantaneous responses everywhere. You text someone, you expect them to text you back
Yeah.
the second after, and customers are no different, right? You have an issue, especially if it's mission critical, because to Ada's point, if you're replacing labor, typically it's
The bar is higher,
those
right?
people are doing something that most likely is important to the company.
Yeah,
If not,
yeah.
that's a problem that they have people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But if we're replacing those teams, yes, it's going to be like really critical to get it right and get it right fast and always get it right. So yes, to a very large extent, they hold us accountable to very high standards. Yes, sorry. But they also understand that this is a process. And we're helping them define their new company. We're helping them
Like new way of working.
rephrase their work. Yeah, we're helping them reimagine the way they do work,
Yeah.
which is really fascinating for them. So they're willing to cut us some chase as and other
Okay.
companies, I'm pretty sure. So that's the finding we had. But Ada is right. They do expect like human.
Yeah, because if your
Time
pitch is like,
responses.
hey, you pay for me and I can, it's like if you would hire people, then they would expect like as if you
Yeah.
hire people, right? Obviously that bar is higher than just a piece of software.
Which is, on the contrary, or on the flip side, is really key for us as a company. We're actually selling something that is really valuable. Like we're solving a really big pain point.
Do you ever worry about, I guess, becoming a less scalable business because that implies a higher level of service?
It goes back to my point about the services piece that Salesforce or Palantir or I think it was even like these healthcare company, this healthcare record company. What's the name of it? Epic. I think Epic was in that blog post that I read. They also went from a lot of services to less services and a lot of product. So I think we're all going to go as a
Through that process.
AI agentic community. We're all going to go through that process of productizing a lot more. We're investing now in very cool stuff like meta builders for the agents, not only for the prompting, but like for the actual workflows. Like you can just like talk to the thing, not even type. Like we want to let our customers train their employees by talking to a phone or a computer. Hey, I want to train you so that you're like a great customer success rep and you're going to be receiving phone calls and emails and WhatsApps over time and you're going to do X and Y. So I want to make it really easy for them to do that so that the FDEs, for example, in this case, they're not there to prompt engineer, which transparently, that's a lot of the work that FDEs are doing today. They're thinking creatively about how to solve that integration with the customer, which entails a little bit of prompting to make it work perfectly and robustly, build the guardrails around it. So they're thinking creatively around that. If we can distill that knowledge into the product, then they'll be able to not only manage like 100x more accounts, but also to go to the next level. No, we're almost like graduating ourselves. I always say, and I stole this quote from one of our prospects actually, automate yourself and move on.
To a new problem, right? To a new-
There's always going to be something new.
Yeah.
Same way that I promise our customers that, or the reps of our customers, the agents of our customers, that there's probably going to be something that they can help on in their company. I say the same to ourselves.
Yeah.
We should automate everything we're doing, and there's probably going to be something higher value to be solved. There's always going to be a new problem.
Yeah. So you think that the FDE model is more like a temporary wedge?
I think the model remains the same.
Okay.
At the enterprise level, customers want to
Want that.
talk to someone,
Yeah.
and until we have like robots that I can send to an onsite
Yeah.
and brainstorm with a customer how to solve their problem, I think we're always going to need that at that enterprise level. And you don't see differently with OpenAI. No, they're just like
They're
hiring like
consulting,
a really big consulting arm. What will change is probably the work they do. Like today, they're building workflows, hooking up APIs, or hooking up via API to the customer systems, prompt engineering, to make the thing work. Next, they'll do meta prompting. They'll understand multiple workflows at once with a meta AI that's looking at things. They'll think creatively around how to improve margins on a load versus how to have the AI say hi instead of hello.
Yeah. So I guess, with time, you will be able to productize the FD motion and allow the FDs to work on higher level tasks that are, instead of just connecting cables, connecting databases, but actually think about more how does this implementation of the agent deliver even more value to the customer.
Yeah. A lot of the things that I see them now doing, now that things are getting more automated, even internally to build those agents, and we have a lot of templates, we have a lot of pre-built agents, basically, a lot of the pre-built connections via APIs and stuff. They're thinking more product, to my point before. No, they're putting their product hat a lot more. They're looking at that ontology in the customer. Ontology basically is the relationship between entities. They need to understand, the customers care, in the case of an ocean carrier, for example, one of those boats that we see in the bay, like Maersk or CMA, CGM, whatever. Those customers care about a container being picked up at the right time. They care about payments being collected timely as well. They care about a driver picking up that container. You know what I mean? Like, they care about those entities. There's a driver, there's a carrier, there's a container. So they think in those terms. And most of the time, customers don't have a map of their entities lying around. For us to we have to understand all of their nuance and all of their, so actually you interact with a factoring company to take care of your payments. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay, that's helpful. Now I understand the different. So it's a lot about understanding that ontology, which is actually a lot of what powers Palantir's Foundry. I think they actually call it an ontology, like that piece, like their product almost. I hope they didn't register that because we want to use it's an English, it's a Latin word, and most likely I'm just making it up.
Let's start wrapping up. And I want to ask you about a bit of the culture you guys have built, because I think that's something that's fascinating, is that you've built a very customer-centric, obsessed culture, despite the fact that, I know, most of your team is probably, as you were saying, like CS majors. They are living in San Francisco. So in a sense, there's a big distance or empathy gap between your employees and your customers. So I guess, how have you built that
empathy,
I guess, culture or empathy internally?
The customer empathy, definitely by having folks fly over to the customer. They build such a great relationship. That's a huge unlock. That's cool. That's something that is nothing new. It's nothing new to, it might be new to startups, or like to the San Francisco world to some degree. I'm pretty sure this has been done over the past few years as well. But traditionally, like, you would go to a customer and implement the thing and be part of their dinner. And So that's
we
one.
probably got too used to Zoom sales.
We probably got used to Zoom sales, which doesn't work. To some degree it does. But like, at some point you have to, someone told me recently, if you send an engineer or like a CSM person to a customer, the likelihood that they churn is almost zero. Like, I've never seen, that person was head of CS at a company for many years, and he had that number in mind. So it's really interesting. The other point that we have done, I think, really well is building a culture where there's no blame, really. There's probably been events where I've just gotten fed up with something and I've gotten frustrated. Oh, like, my goodness, who did that? It was like, oh no, like, I don't have to think that way. If someone's to blame, I am to blame. No, I think there's this book called Extreme Ownership. This military guy.
The SEAL.
The SEAL guy. And it also connects to this other book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, which talks about this framework of, at any point in time, you can either be above the line or under the line.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
If you're under the line, you're closed-minded.
Victim mindset. Right.
Victim mindset, trying to be right. You're trying to be right. If you're above the line, you're curious, open-minded, and trying to learn. So I think we've done a really good job in distilling that.
Cool.
And it goes back to the being majo, being nice. Work hard, and we're not playing games, but at the same time, it is a bit of a game. What is life? Like, what the hell are we here for? The actual value is be majo. Yes, yeah.
I
There's
love
one
how
about
you've combined like Spanish culture with English.
Yeah, that's also fun. I think folks appreciate that. I have a policy now, like $10 for every Spanish word I hear that is not majo or vamos or venga. There's a few words that we can say in the office, but because we have a lot of folks coming from Spain, we have a Madrid office and a few folks remote. So many times they come over to San Francisco and they actually stay at, this is going to be too funny, we call it the Happy House. we rent a few apartments in front of Woolly Pig. They're on 3rd Street. Yeah. They basically go there for a few weeks, and a lot of those Spanish folks, they'll like come from Spain the prior day, and they're like, "Oh, hola, ¿qué tal? Like, how's it going?" No, English.
Forget about Spanish.
But yeah, no, we're trying to instill a collaborative mindset and just having fun while working really hard. Initially we were like framing it as a 996. Who cares now? Like, it's like put in the work, the best work of your life in this. Let's build the next decacore and
Speaking of that, we have many friends in common, and I've heard you guys have a very intense culture, at least from a work ethic perspective.
True.
How do you think about making that culture sustainable?
I think it goes back to the having fun. Like, if you having fun and the blame culture, I think it's something I've heard a lot from candidates I've spoken to, from hires we've made. They are very happy that there's no blame culture, and
that's very hard.
I think
because I think it's very hard to combine within the same work environment or the same team a culture of high standards, being very rigorous.
Yeah.
At the same time, caring a lot about people so that they don't feel like that. Usually they actually don't go hand in hand.
Yeah. It's hard to maintain every day. At least if you're under the line or above the line, you probably know if you're like, oh, am I blaming someone? Which, again, ultimately, it's our responsibility as founders, and ultimately mine if they fire me tomorrow. Like, if Ade Younger fires me, or Anish from A16Z fires me, it's because I was in charge. But yeah, I think it can be made. It's possible. There's going to be a framework of first fix it. If there's a problem, let's first fix it. Let's not worry about who did what. Let's work together to fix it. And then we can understand what can we learn? What can we learn about this experience? Oh, you did that thing? Okay, no worries. We'll understand why. Oh, you did that thing wrong because there was no framework? Yeah, makes sense. We'll fix it for next time. If that makes you lose a customer or makes you mess up a deployment, things happen. Obviously, we don't want to make mistakes. So we have another operating principle, which is urgency with focus. It's move fast, but hey, focus on things. And I'm particularly bad at the focus piece. I guess as a CEO, like, I'm more on the packed back-to-back meetings and like doing things like hopping on and off things. But I try to like apply that more. Like, our CTO Luis is like absolutely phenomenal at the focus piece. He can just get on his cave and just code forever. Like, no one can. But yeah, we try to instill that into folks, like urgency, but make things right.
One last question. How does I guess if we think about in hotel terms, 1 star, 3 stars, 5 stars, 5 years from now, how does the 10-star experience of HappyRobot look like? I guess, how do you envision your customers or ultimately the logistics industry operating if you guys are successful in your vision?
They're able to understand their business on autopilot.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
We're building a bit of a daily brief for them to almost bring and source every issue that a manager, I'm thinking mostly from the manager's perspective, right? Like, a manager in a logistics company, supply chain, or any company that runs an operation for that matter.
Like an AI COO, right?
They're waking up, they're looking at a daily brief. This is what happened today in your company. I've already fixed this and that. I've not been able to fix that other thing. But I think you can just maybe send an email to apologize for the mess up we did there. And by the way, I think you should hire 3 more people on this function. And it was like a little bit meta, but like, you have these, we call it frontal. We're building this new paradigm on top of our agentic workflows, which is basically that AI operating system on top of the data that the AI agents are capturing, the data that humans are or might not be capturing, but whatever data already exists, whatever knowledge already exists through Teams, Slack, there's a lot of chatter.
Calls,
There's so much chatter in these companies through Teams or Slack or email that doesn't get captured. So there's something sitting on top of everything, looking at things from a holistic perspective, giving recommendations, and in a proactive manner. I'll give actually a big shout out to a company that is already doing this today on the customer success world. We're actually users of that tool. It's called Agency.
Agency, okay. Elias Torres.
Elias Torres.
Yeah, he's great.
He's amazing. They're building that concept, but for really customer success for tech startups. But that's exactly what we are building for operations. It's a little bit different. There's obviously different things to connect to. It's not necessarily Salesforce only or Gong. It's your TMS and email and broken databases and Excel sheets here and there. We have a customer that runs one of the largest private jet manufacturers in the world. They run a manufacturing team or a procurement team of hundreds of people. Wow. And they're every day looking at an ERP, seeing what parts have to be picked up seeing what parts are going to arrive in time or not. And those people are just like sitting there looking at parts. Oh, this part is going to arrive late. Oh, let me send an email to someone. Oh, they didn't reply the next day. Okay, let me make a phone call. That should be an AI giving recommendations to those people, doing some of the work, some of the pre-work already will be done, and then enters that manager who eventually makes the ultimate decision, obviously. And that's how we're thinking about it.
And that's peace of mind.
That's
right?
peace of
For
mind.
all these operators.
Same way that agency, for example, is giving peace of mind for me. It's peace of mind for the operators, for those logistics and field operations that are running mission-critical activities every day, and it's nonstop. Hopefully they can get Christmas back.
If you manage to achieve that, then logistics looks very different, right? Because it's like the opposite of that experience. Right? For these operators that literally live it 24/7 on the phone or on the messages.
Logistics,
right?
field services,
But it's
utilities.
such intense operations in these industries, right?
Yeah.
Pablo, thanks a lot. Thanks for making this.
Thank you.
Way to have it.
Appreciate it.